Today I'm going to have a follow-up video on a shorts I did just recently on this razor sharp planer knife kit that I don't use very often. The process is to try to sharpen these planer knives for your power planer and get some extra life out of these. These things are not cheap. They're like 50 bucks for a set. But the problem is you can't sharpen them too often because there's not a lot of meat where you can sharpen. But even when they're dull, they're not all that terribly dull in all honesty. You can cut yourself with these, even when dull. So my planer comes with 3 knives, which makes it even a little bit more enjoyable to do. The kit comes with a nice tube to hold it in, the sharpening jig, and an Allen key. So the process is going to be, and I'm not going to go through the entire process of doing this, I'm just going to show how it's done, and then let you deal with it. First you're going to want to do is clean your knife. This knife is pretty dirty, but you're going to want to clean it and get all the schmutz off of it, front and back. Once it's clean, you're going to get a Sharpie, and what you're going to want to do is mark the edge, this beveled edge, from one end to the other on all 6 sides. And the reason why you're going to do this, especially if you have 3 planer knives, is you're going to want to make sure you get all knives sharpened. So what you're going to do is you're going to, first you're going to sharpen, let's say this edge and this edge, right? But if I just switch out one of these, then you're going to have a situation where you're going to have too many edges to sharpen, but not enough. You're going to do 2 at a time here, right? So then you're going to do, if I do these 2 sides, then this one planer will never get sharpened. So then you can do this edge here and one of these other edges. All right? And then that one will be done, and then you'll do this edge and this edge. Then all 6 sides will be sharpened. So the process is you're going to mount the planer knife so the bevel, in the instructions they're saying up. You loosen these Allen key set screws so you can get your knife in here. And you're going to set that in the jig, and you're going to get it all the way down. Now, like I say, if you have a tendency to get cut or you're concerned about getting cut, wear gloves. Once you have it in, then you're going to snugly tighten these set screws, but you're not going to get them tight yet, because if you tighten them now, then you're not going to get it right. And then you're going to do the same thing for the other side.
Loosen.
You're going to get the plane. Now remember, we've marked which side has not been done yet. And the bevel's going to be up. Okay? And then you're going to, what I did was I made sure they line up. And then you're going to re-snug. Once you have it snug, just make sure, look down the edge and make sure that is set all the way to the bottom of the brass fitting, okay? You're going to do a pattern to tighten. So I start at the center and tighten, all right? And then I go to the next one and I tighten. And I go to the last one and tighten. All roughly equally. You're not going to over tighten, but just equally tighten. And you can do that for both sides. Now I have a piece of granite here. I got this granite from the granite dealership. They make countertops with it. And all I did was I walked up to the door and I talked to them and I said, by the way, do you have any granite that I can buy from you? A piece of sample or whatever. And sometimes they'll sell it to you, sometimes they'll give it to you. They gave this piece to me. This has been flattened, so it's perfectly flat. If you don't have access to granite, you can get a piece of glass from Home Depot or Lowe's and make sure it's thick enough that it's not going to shatter when you do this. And what you can do is you can tape your sandpaper down to the granite. You're going to want that to be taped down so that it doesn't slide around as you're doing this. Now, one of the things is if I set this like this on the granite and I look at the edge, it should be perfectly flat. The bevel needs to be completely flat on the granite to indicate that you're getting the right angle of sharpening. In this case, it doesn't show because I have it sitting on the sandpaper, but it truly is flat. This is wet dry sandpaper. It's probably better to use wet dry, and you can get a spray bottle and spritz it and wetten it. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a pattern like this. But make sure if your planer knives are too long, like mine are, you either have 2 sheets of paper or you go in an angle like this. You want to make sure the whole thing gets equally sanded. So you're going to sand. You don't need to put a lot of pressure. You just need pressure and you need time. And every so often you're going to respritz it with water. Once you've gone through all your planer knives with one grit, you're going to move up to the next grit. The instructions on the kit does not suggest where to start or where to end. This is 220. I would imagine that 400 grit is going to be good enough. This is just high-speed steel anyways. And you'll just keep doing this until you've got sharpened planer knives. I did not find that it worked for me, but I only tried it once. I ended up purchasing carbide knife planes from a company that I have dealings with. And the downside with the carbide ones is it only had one beveled edge. The other side was flat. However, I've used those carbide knives now for about 3 times as long as I've ever used one of these high-speed steel ones, and they're still sharp. And I personally plan on converting my planer to the helical head at some point. That is really all I have to say about it. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea before even loading to lap out the bottom face of the knife, but there's no instructions about that. I know this isn't the best video on this subject, but this is my experience. There are lots of videos on how to use this kit. Some people have very good success with it. I didn't so much. Thank you very much, and My wife can now hit stop on the camera.
Finally, just remember, after every woodworking project, you should always count your fingers. You end with 10, good job.